031 to 035 synopses, no illustrations. Clips 031 to 053 are concerned with the MLA approach to teaching different subject areas. Clips 031 to 035 with their URLs are as follows: 031 Teaching Arithmetic, 032 Teaching Colour, 033 Teaching Drama, 034 Teaching English Literature, 035 Teaching Individualized Reading. 031 Teaching Arithmetic. MLA believes that the child's first contact with arithmetic is crucial and that the teaching shall involve a twofold process. It involves the teaching of basic number work so that the child becomes numerate. However, it also involves the delicate and important task of seeing that the material that is presented is taught in such a way that the child wants to learn about numbers, the four processes, and so on. In other words, the material is presented so that it is in harmony with the child's global, pictorial view of the world. If this does not occur, the child will naturally and spontaneously set up barriers to the learning process. It should be a journey of discovery for a happy and curious child. However, in many cases the opposite occurs with, on occasions, resultant behavioural problems. It is important to appreciate that young primary school children think globally, in that they perceive themselves and feel themselves as part of the world. Therefore, it is important that the teacher's approach should be from the whole to the parts. The first lessons should be devised to convey the idea of a totality, a wholeness which has various parts. In addition, many of the concepts in arithmetic can be learned easily if initially an appeal is made to children's imagination. The four processes, odd and even numbers, units, tens and hundreds, should all be learned in a pictorial, imaginative way, introduced, for example, through stories and drama. Therefore, the teaching process is not to emphasize the theoretical, but to enable children to learn through the affective as well as the cognitive. In other words, through the heart as well as the head, through the right-hand side of the brain as well as the left. There is a danger that children taught with a heavy cognitive emphasis will become narrow subject specialists, unable to relate specialized knowledge to other subject areas. Children taught by the approach we recommend should relate such specialist knowledge to a wider and deeper perspective, and to be creative as well as logical in approach. 032 Teaching Colour. The place of the visual arts in our approach is extremely important, especially our relationship with colour. We describe how all true colour experience rests upon the harmonious or one-sided distribution of a triad, the three primal colours yellow, blue, red. There is a continual struggle in man to create an harmonious balance of this triad, and part of his struggle and experience of life is involved in attempting to resolve any inner conflict and thus bring about harmony. Ideally, exercises related to each of the primary colours should start at a very early age. Certainly by the time children enter grade 1, they should have had a great deal of experience and enjoyment of working with each of the primary colours. Colour can also help us in other ways. When we are in a particular mood, colour can help us to express feelings, assist us to change from one mood to another, or aid us in tempering the effects of negative emotion. However, there is in the long run no substitute for working through the exercises described. A whole range of exercises designed around the colour circle will help us to experience the significance and completeness of colour. In nature, the completeness is there for all to see, for example in the morning sunrise and in the evening sunset. With practice, we can become submerged in the cosmic world of colour, with all its tensions, creative forces, polarities, intensifications, rhythms, and so on. At all times, however, we need to keep ahead of intellectualizing the process. This occurs through involvement with exercises and practice. Failure to do this results in attitudes that to some extent ignores the beauty and wonder in the world. Experiences that we are meant to obtain and which we ignore at our peril. Working with colour. The conventional approach is an outside observation followed by attempts to represent the outward perception through a drawing or painting. If this occurs, the emphasis has been on form rather than on colour. It is far better to start with colour, and the teaching using our approach will involve the children in a whole number of exercises. Initially, children work with each of the primary colours in turn before progressing to the different ways in which the colours mix to produce other colours. One of the easiest mediums to use, and one which is practised, is the application of watercolour to damp paper. In this way, children can gradually and gently be introduced to feelings for the different hues and tones. The application of watercolour to damp paper enables children to work from inner perception and create a variety of form. It is far more satisfying to their well-being to create form from colour than to impose form obtained from observation. They will build up an instinct for colour and the laws and processes involved in colours and their interaction. The therapeutic benefit from continually acting with colour should not be underestimated, especially in relation to the different temperaments, and descriptions are given how each temperament or personality type reacts and responds. 033 Teaching Drama. Drama involves children acting out situations, facts, personal experiences, stories and ideas. When children are involved in drama, they think first about the person they are portraying. By discussing the feelings of that person and other background events, children learn to put themselves into the shoes of others. Examples are described of less known ways to teach drama. These are monologues, picture posing, pantomime and role-playing. Descriptions are also given of how drama can be a therapeutic aid in many situations. The example given is of a disruptive boy in class and how drama can help him to understand his actions on others, etc. Also how changes have occurred initiated by and through the boy's volition, and that the boy's imagination has played a crucial role in the process. Thus, drama brings about behavioural change in a safe and friendly environment, and not in a confrontational or punishing manner. 034 Teaching English Literature. In a wider perspective, the study of English, or any other mother tongue, is part of the area of speech. The two direct manifestations of speech are the spoken and written word. These are covered in English, mother tongue, and English literature. Please note that the introduction and development of writing and reading is dealt with in the presentation Learning to Write and Read, although there is a brief overview regarding the development of individualized reading skills below. Descriptions are given of how prediction and repetition are important for the child. Once the child has reached a stage where they are capable of reading the sentences they have written down in their own first readers, they can be introduced to books that contain simple printed sentences. We describe also how teachers should remember that the transition from the language experience approach of the early stage of reading to a set text is critical. At this stage, students have begun to develop and use the various skills needed for the task, namely simple phonic analysis, recall of words memorized from sight, and cueing from semantic, syntax and illustration. Reading for meaning. We emphasize that the extraction of meaning from a text is more than taking the sum of the meaning of individual words. From our viewpoint, we consider the learning to read process as occurring within the wider perspective of the child's development, and in particular, the child's desire for meaning. We should be clear also about the type of faculty that we hope to develop. Children will create and develop their own meaning from what they have read. In other words, they are doing a great deal more than repeating, however accurately, what has been written. Children begin to develop a clearer understanding of the composition of written language. Their understanding of the world, which is ever increasing in depth and breadth, will be experienced through the affective as well as the cognitive. This is an important and critical period in children's development and should not be rushed by the teacher, for there is the danger of making premature demands on the intellect by moving along too quickly. Children will have now completed the first stage of instruction and are ready to move beyond the preparatory language experience approach. Unfortunately, it often happens that a child's first encounter with a real book to be read by him turns out to have little meaning. For example, the intrinsic worth of the child and the pleasure he/she experiences may derive simply from the mechanical activity of word calling. This will certainly be the case if children have been taught by methods that overemphasize the use of phonological cues. It follows that the content within which children are learning to read should avoid the need for detailed phonic analysis. It is recommended, therefore, that children have ample opportunity within the text to experience all the other cueing techniques. 035. Teaching individualized reading. Up to this point, the teaching of reading will have occurred for the most part within a group or class. The eventual objective, however, must be to lead children towards the ability to carry out the task by themselves. Indeed, because so many factors are involved and the rate of progress so diverse in different children, the teacher should attempt as far as possible to guide each child onto an individual plan or program that he/she can develop his/her skills in his own way and at his/her own pace. The teacher will need sound powers of judgment to see that the child is guided through the stages of reading development at an acceptable rate, while at the same time making sure that no excessive and premature demands are made. In addition, the task involves a learning process that needs to be slowly absorbed by the child in a structured framework. It would be naive to think that this process will happen spontaneously and naturally. We can see from the following example what could easily happen if 4 children are given the same class reader to read. The example may be extreme, at the same time the underlying principle, namely children obtaining books that do not match their reading age, unfortunately occurs quite often. The first child reads fluently, is able to comprehend what has been written and can work independently without the teacher's help. The second child is able to read most of the text but has occasional difficulty, although the level of challenge does not affect his confidence. The third child is able to read some of the text but is in continual difficulty. The level of challenge affects the child's confidence if the teacher did not continually offer practical support and encouragement. The fourth child is able to read very little of the text and needs constant supervision and support. Without this help, the child quickly reaches a level of frustration where he gives up, therefore producing a negative attitude towards reading. It is obvious from the above that the main reasons for failure in the fourth child is that the reading material he was given was quite unsuitable. There will be some cases, particularly among academically challenged children, where the level of frustration is never far away, and these children require specialist remedial help. However, there will be many more children who would not reach this level of frustration if they were given the right material at the right time. How then is the teacher to decide whether the child should be encouraged to read this reader or that reader or some other reader? Probably the most usual way is for the teacher to rely on his/her own judgment based on his/her experience and knowledge together with other factors, some of which are described below. Attention would obviously have to be given to the interest and motivation of the child, and the child's temperament would also be a major factor. The main objective of an individualized reading program is to guide a child through carefully chosen books so that he/she experiences a wide variety of reading material. In addition, that gradually and efficiently he/she is able to develop a whole range of reading skills